Super Typhoon Ragasa is nearing the Philippines currently as a Category 5 with winds of 165 miles per hour, gusting to 200 miles per hour, and a pressure of 918 millibars. It is moving west-northwest at 8 miles per hour. Here is the forecast. We have it peaking in around 6 hours with winds of 175 miles per hour, before weakening and passing through the Babuyan Islands with winds of 165 miles per hour. It will then move into the South China Sea and strike China, probably as a Category 3, before moving on to Vietnam. Here is the wind field. Tropical storm force winds extending nearly 300 miles across, with typhoon and major typhoon force winds relatively small compared to the storm size. Regatta's size is one of the main factors as to why it is such a severe threat, because impacts will not be localized, they will be widespread. Here are the watches and warnings. Typhoon warnings for the Babuyan Islands, Batanes Islands, North Luzon, and the Lezu Peninsula. Tropical storm warnings are in effect for Luzon, southern Taiwan, the Chinese coast from Macau to Shantou, northern Hainan Islands, and the coast of the Gulf of Tonkin from Kinzhou to Hantin. Tropical storm watches for Luzon, southern Taiwan, the rest of Hainan Island, and the Vietnamese coast from Hantin to Dong Ha. The wind threat is essentially everything I just mentioned in the warnings. Here are the chances. 100% across the board for category and 90% chance for landfall. Overall danger we are giving a 9, which is extreme. Wind threat is at a 10 with winds in excess of 150 miles per hour expected to the Babuyan Islands. Rainfall threat we are giving an 8 with around 20 inches of rain expected. Storm surge we are giving a 7 with up to 13 feet expected on Babuyan Islands and Luzon. In storm size, we are giving an 8 with tropical storm force winds exceeding nearly 300 miles. Here are the other agencies. Pagasa still behind at Category 4 strength. JTWC and GFS are going with 160 miles per hour, and we are going with 165 miles per hour due to its satellite presence continuing to improve. Let's move on to the forecast models.
Here's the models. This is H-Wharf. They're way down at 900 millibars right now, and they say it's peaking right now. And it's going to move through the Babuyan Islands a little bit weaker than it's at right now, which it's probably going to be about the same strength. It's striking near Hong Kong there still as a Category 4, which I don't think is going to happen because the majority of the models are keen on this, just like kind of going down the coast of China, not making an actual landfall near Hong Kong. HAFSA at 916 currently. They have the pressure dropping all the way to 905. And I think that's a direct landfall on that island right there at 915 millibars. And a second peak in the South China Sea there, 911 millibars. Actually, a little bit stronger, 907 millibars. And that looks like a direct landfall on that island there as a borderline Category 5. That's a landfall in mainland China, significantly weaker at that point. That's probably a Category 2. And then it just moves through Vietnam. It's a tropical storm landfall. GFS at 955 currently. They're way behind. Dropping to 939, and that is again a direct landfall on the Babuyan Islands at peak intensity. And it's a landfall in China there, 968 millibars. That's probably a low-end Cat 2. And striking Vietnam is a tropical storm. Looks like right around 1,000 millibars. ECMWF, 950 millibars, undershooting it like they always do. I take it all back, 909 millibars there. I think that's a reasonable estimate for its peak. And again, a second peak, 899 millibars there in the South China Sea. That would be, I believe, the most intense storm ever in the South China Sea. And going through China, 953 millibars there at landfall. Actually, no, my bad. That's significantly closer to land. That's a borderline Category 3, Category 4 landfall in China. And looks like probably a Category 1 landfall in Vietnam. But 899 millibars is wild. Satellite imagery, Ragasa, it just looks really good. Cloud tops have dropped a little bit, but overall still really good. Still in the minus 80s with a. Looks like the northwestern eye wall is starting to kind of lose some cloud tops, but I don't really think that's doing a whole heck of a ton right now. It's not like Neoguri last night. It doesn't have a perfectly symmetrical eye, but I will say this is probably stronger than Neoguri was. Ne- Neoguri did reach Category 5 strength by our analysis. Peaked at 160 miles an hour. This is definitely stronger than Neoguri. Even though Neoguri is still really powerful at the time we're recording this, it's still a Cat 4. But Ragasa is, like I said, I think it was in last night's bulletin. This is the biggest threat to the Batanes Islands since, well, the Batanes and Babuyan Islands since Saola in 2023. And I would honestly go a step further and say maybe Moranti in 2016. This is the biggest threat since then because Saola was a big threat, but it didn't actually really do a whole ton because it wasn't that large. But this is significantly larger than Saola, and this is also not, it's not as strong as Saola, but it's going to be stronger when it moves through these islands. Yeah, the eye wall is taking a little bit of a hit recently. I don't know if that's wind shear or if that's an eye wall replacement cycle. I'm not sure, but the storm overall does look very good. It's still a Cat 5. This has been on the forecast for a while for it to reach Cat 5. It just wasn't forecasted to be this early. And like we said, probably going to be a landfall in the Babuyan Islands at Category 5 intensity. So expect catastrophic impacts in the Philippines. That's all I can say. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the global tropics. Here is the global tropics. Gabrielle in the Atlantic hasn't really strengthened at all since last night's bulletin. Ragasa is what this entire update's been about. It's approaching the Philippines right now as a Cat 5. And Neoguri is weakening, but is still a Category 4. But that's it for this update on Ragasa. We're going to have more, but like, subscribe, and goodbye.